Hi there, my name's Andy Wood, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to simulate an Orton effect for your images. Hey there, I'm Andy Wood, and before we get started I'd just like to invite you to head over to imagepunk.com and grab yourself some free presets and tutorials. And just to say that if you like this video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Cheers. Right, let's get started. Okay, now if you're not quite clear what an Orton effect is, it's a style of photography developed by a chap called Michael Orton. If you go to michaelortonphotography.com, you can see his website there. It was developed way back, I think it was in the 80s. But basically he manipulated his exposures on an image, multiple exposures, stacked them together, and it created quite an interesting effect. It's almost a slightly out of focus, dreamy effect. Now we can simulate this quite easily in Photoshop. So let's start. I'll work through 3 images and see what we can do. This first image, as you can see, it's a bit of a landscape. It's not exactly remarkable, but it's a good image, and unfortunately in its current state it's not really something I would call fine art and print and frame and hang it on the wall. So let's see what we can do. So the first thing, I think what I'll do with these is probably pop them on to my Instagram account. So what I do is I go to Window, and in the extensions I already have installed my ImagePunk Social 2020 panel, and this produces this. Let's just get rid of that. Oops. Persistent. Okay, so it produces a panel, and in there are one-click buttons to produce the right dimensioned template for a number of social media platforms, and it covers advertising as well as just normal social posts. So let's look. We'll go to Instagram, and I think I'll make a square image on Instagram. So I just click, and immediately I get 2 tabs open up, and the first one is the actual template. The second one is a smart object. So if I just take off the text that I'm going to edit, go back to my image, and I drag it to that starting template, the smart object, drop it into place. I think what we'll do is we'll just make it a little bit more interesting and rotate it a tad. Let's make it a little bit bigger. That sky creeping in at the top, and yeah, we'll go for that. So hit enter, and then if I Command or Alt S and save it and go to the actual template, you'll see there it is. I can close the smart object down, and there's the template, and that'll be the starting point that we work from. So a Orton effect simulation. First thing we do is we duplicate the layer. So if you hit Command on a Mac or Alt on a Windows and J, it just creates a copy of the layer. Now on this layer we set the blend mode to screen, and we just brighten it. All that's doing is just brightening, so you can see there's the original, and this second one just brightens it a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is convert this to a smart object so that we can easily edit it later if we wish. So I'll just right click and I say convert to a smart object. Now I'm going to go to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur, and we're going to add some blur to this to make it a little bit dreamy. You can see it can go way up and make it, it's almost like a mist appearing. Somewhere around about there, I think, for this image and click OK. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer again. So I'm clicked on this layer and I Command Alt J. Now this time, this top layer, the new layer, we're going to make it multiply, and as you can see it's much darker now. So the last thing we do, we go down here and we create an adjustment layer for brightness and contrast. Now we can lift the brightness up and play with the contrast, and that affects, as you can see, the almost the dream effect. But that for me is a much better image. Go back to the first one, it was that, and now we have that, and I think that will be something that with a little bit more adjustment I would certainly be interested in printing off and popping in a frame. Let's try something else. So let's just drop that one off and we'll go to this one. And for this one, let's make it a shared image on Facebook. Why not? So get rid of the text, go to the image, drag it over to the smart object. You can see it's quite large. We'll just drop that down a tad and get it so we can manipulate it a little bit. I like the sloped images, as you probably guessed. We'll just make that grow a little bit and we will work with that. So click that, Command Alt S and save it, and there we have the Facebook shared image ready to be Ortonized, if that's a word. Well, we'll create a word, we'll call it Ortonized. So first thing, duplicate the layer, Command Alt J, and switch to screen. So we've brightened it up. Convert it to a smart object, so we right click and we will convert to a smart object. Now we will go to blur. Now because we used blur before, it's up there in the quick settings, but let's choose that, blur again, and see what we can do with that. Actually it wasn't too bad where it was it? Somewhere around about there, and we will click OK, and then we will duplicate that layer, Command Alt J, and then we will set that to multiply, and it's quite dark, quite moody. Click here, create a brightness contrast adjustment layer, bring it up somewhat, and how about that? I think that looks pretty good, pretty interesting. Let's try a third image, and let's not worry about social media posts. So Command J and screen and filter and Gaussian blur. Well, no, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Screen mode, convert to a smart object. I like to convert to a smart object, I'll show you why in a minute, but convert it to a smart object. Now go filter Gaussian blur, and this one, let's ramp it right up, something like that, and click OK. The reason I like to use a smart object is that if I want to, I can click on here now and I can change that. So that's one of the benefits of using a smart object. Duplicate the layer. Again, we'll go to multiply this time and it becomes much darker. Create a new adjustment layer, brightness contrast, wang up the brightness, and let's take some of that contrast off. And look at that. I think that looks pretty amazing. So let's just take these layers off. So that's where we started. And that's where we finished. And I think that would look really interesting. Again, could probably add a little bit of noise to that and some more refinements, but I think that looks pretty good. So there you have it. That's how to simulate an Orton effect in Photoshop. That's it for now. Cheers.